Get up, get in the car.
I can't move.
I've been waiting the whole time, man. Get up, get in the car.
Mama.
Get up and get in the car right.
I can't.
Now let's turn to the United States, to the city of Minneapolis. The city is still reeling from the death of an unarmed black man in police custody.
I am George Floyd. I am Ahmaud Arbery. I am Angeloku. I am too many names to count. And these are just the names of those whose lives were cut short. What about the names of those whose lives were made harder, whose success was stifled, whose value was diminished, whose hard work wasn't rewarded, who fear for their families, who know for them it's just different? The names of those who live with the pain, the burden, and the terror of anti-Black systemic racism every single day.
We live in a time where Black men and women and boys and girls can be choked and shot and beaten and lynched in broad daylight by murderous pigs.
Their time is long overdue. We can't be silent anymore. We can't delay another day. And make no mistake,
so they are frustrated.
This isn't just an American issue.
There is no systemic discrimination.
It's a Canadian one too. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. And it's not enough to just not be racist. We need to be anti-racist. It's not enough to just stand in solidarity. We need to move in solidarity. It's not enough to just condemn. We need to transform from the inside out, as individuals, as families, as communities, as companies, as a country. BlackNorth is a call to action. It's a movement in the making, and it starts today. We're mobilizing the corporate community to not only transform itself, but to transform the country, to move as one, to end anti-Black systemic racism once and for all. From the boardroom to the classroom and everywhere in between, there is no limit to what we can accomplish together, and the time is now. The world has put us all on notice, and we will answer the call with courage, with commitment, with collaboration and level we haven't seen before, because this is the fight of our lives. So welcome to BlackNorth. Let's get to work.
In celebration of Black History Month, we welcome you to BlackNorth Activate. I will begin by acknowledging that we are on the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat people, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. To all of our attendees, our esteemed guests, our fellow signatories, our government officials, our allies, and our Black communities, on behalf of the BlackNorth Initiative, Happy Black History Month, and welcome to BlackNorth Activate. My name is Tahawa Ahmed Omar, and I'm the Executive Director of the BlackNorth Initiative. It was just 20 months ago when we launched the BlackNorth Initiative, and since then, it has become a strong and powerful voice in not only the eradication of systemic anti-Black racism, but also in the empowerment of Black communities throughout Canada. We work with closely 500 Canadian organizations totaling $1.3 trillion in value, including both public and private sector, major banks, insurance companies, law firms, government, the largest asset managers, and institutional investors, and they're all behind us. The BlackNorth Activate event is an opportunity to mark Black History Month, celebrate the contributions, heritages, and victories of Black Canadians, and also announce some of the biggest programs we are undertaking here at BlackNorth Initiative. We hope this event will inspire you, move you, and motivate you. It is my honor to introduce to you our first guest speaker, Senator Don Oliver, which everyone probably already knows. Don Oliver is a retired member of the Senate of Canada in 2013 after 22 years of service. He now resides at his beloved farm in Pleasant River, Queens County, Nova Scotia. reading, writing, and meeting with friends. Honorable Dr. Donald Oliver rose to serve with distinction as Speaker pro tempore in the Senate of Canada in Ottawa, as chairman of 6 standing committees of Parliament, as chairman or deputy chairman of 7 inter-parliamentary associations, and as a ubiquitous spokesperson for diversity, pluralism, fairness, and equality, for which he was awarded 5 honorary doctorate degrees from Canadian universities. During his years as a practicing lawyer and as an active politician, which took him to dozens of countries around the globe, he established countless invaluable personal contacts, which he cherishes even in retirement. As a former financial consultant to corporations, individuals, and countries, Don Oliver continues, often with the help of his global contacts in Europe, Africa, and the United States, to provide strategic advice and open doors to help a variety of startup enterprises mature to the next stage. Senator Don Oliver has also served as the chair of the Government Relations Committee at BlackNorth Initiative and currently serves as a board of director of the BlackNorth Initiative. Over to you, Senator.
Thank you very, very much for that very kind introduction. And thank you for this opportunity to speak briefly about February and Black History Month. For Blacks, February has become one of the most important months of the calendar year because it is when all of our communications technology, radio, TV, blogs, podcasts, social media is engaged to showcase and highlight many of the outstanding achievements of some of our 3.5 million Canadians of African descent. It's when we showcase the incredible strength of our visual and performing arts, our music, new artists, literature, poetry, dance, and fashion design, to mention only a few. But it is equally important as a time when we read about, study, and highlight the struggles, history, and the careers of those who, for the last 400 years, pushed aside and crushed many anti-Black systemic barriers and have thereby opened the doorway for thousands of us. It is a month of awakening, celebration, and pride as we commemorate the achievements and the legacy of outstanding Canadians like Lincoln Alexander, Viola Desmond, Portia White, and many, many more. More importantly, for our youth, it is a time to reimagine what possibilities lie ahead in this month of renewed appreciation of Blackness that stresses the beauty and the diversity of our people and how our Blackness permeates all aspects of Canadian society in parallel with and often surpassing white privilege. It is a visual demonstration of the growing strength and power of the Black presence in Canada. Well, what are some of the other ways we can honor the contributions that Black Canadians make in all sectors of Canadian society? Well, to begin with, we should celebrate their successes and achievements when we use all of our efforts to immediately try to get them elevated to positions like chair, vice chair, lead director in some of Canada's largest crown corporations and boards. Next, ensure that we have a significant presence at all national, historical, and cultural events, often as major participants or presiding chair. Next, ensure that libraries and all schools and colleges across Canada have current, updated bilingual books that accurately recount the history of the enormous contributions Blacks have made to enhancing Canada, both nationally and internationally. Next, find mutual ways of collaborating with and ways to enlarge and strengthen the Harry Jerome Awards to make them more national and ensure that they become the annual preeminent 3-day Black Gala Awards in Canada, a wonderful way to recognize Black excellence and achievement. We must make the celebration of Black history and accomplishments and the time when we give visibility to Black people and groups creating positive change, a 12-month affair. The Public Service of Canada has chosen this year's theme for Black History Month, February and Forever, celebrating Black history today and every day. I could not agree more. Extending our history display 12 months will provide an opportunity to nationally devote 1 month, for instance, to commemorating groups like scientists and inventors. The potato chip, the microphone, the automatic door, steroids, synthetic cortisone, birth control pills, etc. All of these were created and invented by Black men and women. It's time we knew more about them. We could have another month highlighting our Olympic medalists, another for famous Canadian Black athletes in basketball, football, baseball, hockey, boxing, another month for higher education, our award-winning Black professors, trailblazing meteorologists, robot engineers, astrophysicists, climatologists, medicine, dentistry, law. Yes, we have excelled in all of those categories, and that is why the study and understanding of Black history must be extended to be 12 months of the year. What importance does the government play in supporting Black-led and Black-serving organizations? Government understanding and support through new public policies and financial support is of fundamental, critical importance. The federal government must fund our national cultural centers, museums, specialized educational groups, and all those organizations that are already emphasizing the strength and beauty and diversity of our people to ensure there is a continuing appreciation and awareness of the reality that Blackness permeates all aspects of Canadian society. The history and artifacts must be preserved so all can see, hear, and read about it. The job is not yet done. My call to action for further investments and programs by the Government of Canada for Black marginalized communities is the specific need for holistic analysis of the treatment of these groups in the healthcare delivery system throughout Canada. COVID-19 scientists have already started to produce data and statistics that show how Canadians of African descent are more negatively impacted than white people in healthcare delivery. This has got to stop. Adequate, substantial funding is urgently required now to finance a lot more of this critical research to prove the case of racialized healthcare system that penalizes Blacks and poor people. Another call to action is the new housing documents that were a magnificent program to that effect was announced yesterday. In conclusion, I want to remind you that my proudest day in 23 years in the Senate of Canada was when I rose in the chamber in 2008, moved a resolution that passed unanimously, in which the Parliament of Canada officially designated February as Black History Month. In moving the motion, I said, among other things, it is a chance to honor the significant role Black Canadians have played in shaping the mosaic of Canada and its values. One Canadian who today is shaping the mosaic of Canada and its values is Wes Hall, who blessed us with the vision to create the BlackNorth Initiative. Many of the activities of the various B&I new groups and committees he has created deliver positive change that are stepping on the toes of anti-Black systemic racism and white privilege. Thank you, Wes, for being a visionary with purpose. In Black History Month 2022, we are grateful. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Don Oliver, for those inspiring words and your thoughts on the importance of Black History Month. It is an absolute honor to have you. You are the essence of Black history. For those of you that don't know, Senator Oliver put pen to paper and wrote a book called A Matter of Equality, the life's work of Senator Don Oliver. This book talks about diversity, minority advancement, detailing his life as a Black man working within the system to bring change, not only in Nova Scotia, but above and beyond. So thank you, Senator Oliver, for being with us. Every time you speak, I get absolute jitters.
Thank you.
Our next guest speaker is, you're welcome. Our next guest speaker is Wes Hall, our fearless leader and founder and chairman of BlackNorth Initiative. Wes Hall came from humble beginnings in Jamaica to become one of the most influential, powerful business people in Canada. He has established himself as a preeminent leader in shareholder advisory services in contested investor situations. Wes is known for his generosity, leveraging his business success to benefit others with several impactful charitable initiatives, and serves as a board member of the Sick Kids Foundation, Pathways to Education, Toronto International Film Festival, and the Black Academy. Join me in welcoming Wes Hall.
Well, Dahabo, thank you very much. I really appreciate this opportunity to be here. And for those who are wondering where I'm at, it's actually virtual reality in the background. It's not the beautiful Harbor Club in St. Lucia. It's we've perfected virtual reality. But welcome to this event. And as Dahabo mentioned, I'm really honored and privileged to be just one voice that's a part of the BlackNorth Initiative. Though I'm the founder and chairman, I couldn't have done this without the incredible support of the entire board of directors of BlackNorth, some incredible human being working at the BlackNorth office, and my colleague and partner in crime, Dahabo. So thank you for that. I want to say happy Black History Month. And I want to say we're going to have a wonderful afternoon. We're going to make some great announcements. And I think you're going to appreciate some of the things that you hear from all of us. When I look at all the panelists and the people that's going to be presenting to you this evening, it's amazing the talent and the history of all these folks in terms of the work that they're doing. And I'm also impressed by the diversity of this group. They don't all look like me. And it just goes to show that we're all in it together. First of all, I will begin by acknowledging that the land in which I reside is on the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, and the Unanashade people. And the one that people, and now is in the homes of many diverse nations, Inuit and Métis peoples. I want to also welcome all of you to the BlackNorth Activate event. Today is a special day because we're all announcing the launch of many programs that will directly impact the Black community in Canada. Today, we also remember and honor the contributions that Black Canadians have made that predates this country of Canada by over 150 years. Our heritages, contributions, experiences, and accomplishments are intertwined into the fabric of Canada. It is also key for all Canadians to learn about the experiences of Black Canadians in our society and the vital role this community has played throughout our shared history. In 1978, for example, the Ontario Black History Society was established. Its foundations, including Dr. Daniel G. Hill and Wilson O. Brooks, presented a petition to the City of Toronto to have February formally proclaimed as Black History Month. In 1979, the first ever Canadian proclamation was issued by Toronto. The first Black History Month in Nova Scotia was observed in 1988 and later renamed African Heritage Month in 1996. In 1993, the Ontario Black History Society successfully filed a petition in Ontario to proclaim February as Black History Month. Following that success, Rosemary Sadlier, president of the Ontario Black History Society, introduced the idea of having Black History Month recognized across Canada to the Honorable Jean Augustine, the first Black Canadian woman elected to Parliament. In December 1995, the House of Commons officially recognized February as Black History Month in Canada, following a motion introduced by Dr. Augustine. The House of Commons carried the motion unanimously. In February 2008, our own Senator Don Oliver that you just heard from, the first Black man appointed to the Senate, introduced the motion to recognize contributions of Black Canadians and February as Black History Month. And for those who know Senator Oliver, they know that he doesn't take no for an answer. It received unanimous approval and was adopted on March 4, 2008. The adoption of this motion completed Canada's parliamentary position on the Black History Month. Senator Oliver, I want to personally, on behalf of the Black community, thank you, and thank you for your honored commitment and your work that you do with us in the BlackNorth Initiative and your contribution to the Black community. We also want to say that business philosopher Jim Rohn once said, all good men and women must take responsibility to create legacies that will take the next generation to level we could only imagine. Senator Oliver, that's what you've done for the Black and BIPOC community. And for that, we thank you. We recognize this journey to end systemic anti-Black racism will be challenging and demanding. As a result, we have built a holistic solution with a focused approach, not only eradicating systemic anti-Black racism, but also to build generational wealth for Black Canadians. Through the work of committees, the BlackNorth team, and over 300 volunteer members, we have built programs and initiatives that are focused on tackling issues ranging from education, health, community, safety and wellness, economic empowerment, mentorship, sponsorship, sports and entertainment, government relations, housing, youth action, and more. These committees continued with our, combined with our hundreds of volunteers and partners across Canada and globally, have been working diligently to bring equality, fairness, and opportunity to Black Canadian communities. As a result, we have created scholarship opportunities, mentorship placement, training and development initiatives, job opportunities, and more. All these incredible outcomes are a direct result of the partnership we have made with you. Since inception, we have been working with over 500 companies. The CEOs of these organizations are all working with the BlackNorth Initiative to increase their efforts in making their workplaces more diverse, equitable, and inclusive places to have complex and difficult conversations about anti-Black systemic racism, and to ensure that no barriers prevent Black employees from advancing within their companies. We're also supporting the journey in advancing diversity, equity, and inclusion in the Canadian business ecosystems. To uphold accountability, we're working with Corporate Canada to report on diversity, equity, and inclusion progress, looking ahead to the work that's yet to be done. Part of the support is evident in our racial equity playbook, which was launched in November of last year. We worked tirelessly with the folks at Boston Consulting Group, and this at a cost of $500,000 to create this playbook, because we think it's actually very important that organizations have the tools they need to do the work that they need to do. This guide will help various organizations as they make changes within their organizations. And I'm proud to say thus far, over 1,000 downloads of the BNI Racial Equity Playbook have been done from our website. That is truly incredible. Yesterday was an historic moment for the BlackNorth Initiative and the Black community. We announced, in partnership with Habitat for Humanity and empowered by Dream Legacy Foundation, an amazing program, the BlackNorth Initiative Homeownership Bridge Program, which will economically empower Black families. I'd like to thank the Government of Canada. Specifically, I'd like to thank Minister Hussein, who you'll hear from later on, for his unfailing support. He led this to this announcement that we had yesterday. So Minister Hussein, thank you very much for the support that you've given to us in this regard. The BlackNorth Initiative Homeownership Bridge Program is more than an affordable housing strategy. It is an economic and racial inclusion strategy. There's a report in the Globe and Mail today that for rental income in Toronto, you have to make $90,000 in Toronto to be able to afford to live in the city of Toronto, $90,000. And that's for one bedroom. If you want a two bedroom, it's $118,000 that your income must be to have a half decent place to live in the city of Toronto. Unfortunately, the average income for Black families is only $49,000. And as a result of that, it leaves us in a position where we unfortunately must live in substandard housing. So this investment of $10 million in federal funding for the BlackNorth Initiative Homeownership Bridge Program will help deliver an estimated 200 affordable homes to first-time Black family homeowners. In addition, I'd like to thank Chair Unica, and he's here today. You're going to be hearing from him as well, Peel Regional Chair, for the region's contribution of $2.5 million investment to help 50 Black families own a home through the BlackNorth Initiative Homeownership Bridge Program. Nando, Thank you for your relentless support of our community. We're also in collaboration with various youth initiatives designed to remove barriers for Black youth, such as the BlackNorth Initiative CIBC Youth Accelerator Program, providing multi-year support for post-secondary education for Black youths. We also collaborated with Kids Help on the Rise Up program, which is the first national 24/7 bilingual mental health services servicing Black youths. Additionally, youth initiatives such as the West Hall Black Journalism Scholarship, the West Hall Social Entrepreneur Program, and the BlackNorth Initiative Law School Scholarship, all with Rice University. We're also supporting the Cecil Allen Fraser Bursary at Queen's Law School to encourage the enrollment of Black law students. Other programs related to mentorship and internship like the BlackNorth Connect program, the BlackNorth Academy, which is a bespoke C-suite and board preparedness program, Work-Live program, which will provide studio housing space for Black artists. And this will be contributed by builders across the city. We will continue to do the necessary work to bring positive change to marginalized communities in Canada. We must do more. We must stand up, step up, and show up. The time is now. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey. Now let's get to work.
Happy Black History Month. In celebration of Black History Month, we welcome you to the BlackNorth Activate. Today, we will have incredible conversations with Black Canadian leaders about the history of Black Canadians, as well as the launch of the BlackNorth Initiative Homeownership Bridge Program. This program is centered around empowering, educating, and building generational wealth.
Intergenerational programs are those which increase cooperation, interaction, and exchange between people of different generations, allowing them to share their talents and their resources and support each other in ongoing relationships that benefit both the individuals and their community.
The BlackNorth Homeownership Bridge Program is more than an affordable housing strategy. It is an economic and racial inclusion strategy. Home ownership has enabled generations of Canadians to start each day from a solid home base while building equity to start businesses, to support children's post-secondary education, to plan for a stable retirement, and to transfer wealth to the next generation. The Black community has been left behind.
The BlackNorth Homeownership Bridge Program, in partnership with Habitat for Humanity GTA and empowered by Dream Legacy Foundation, will leverage government and philanthropic funds together with partnerships with developers to build a bridge between a mortgage the family can afford and the price to deliver that home. Future repayments of this bridge and equity sharing between the family and the program will create a revolving fund to help Black families in the future.
Together we will.
And together we have. So first of all, let me take the opportunity to thank Wes Hall for his words and for your fearless leadership when at the helm of the BlackNorth Initiative. You continue to inspire me and the next generation. It is now my honor to introduce to you the Honorable Ahmed Hussein. After earning a law degree from the University of Ottawa, Minister Hussein practiced law in the areas of criminal defense, immigration, refugee law, and human rights. The Honorable Ahmed Hussein was first elected in 2015 to represent the riding of York South in Weston. He has previously served as the Minister of Families, Children, and Social Development, and currently serves as the Minister of Housing, Diversity, and Inclusion. Yesterday, as you've heard many times now, the BlackNorth Initiative, in partnership with Habitat for Humanity GTA and Dream Legacy Foundation, and in support of Minister Hussein, the Government of Canada launched the BlackNorth Homeownership Bridge Program with an incredible investment of $10 million.
Right, and Dahabo, it looks like you're experiencing some internet issues.
And
you are back.
I am back. Where did I leave you guys? Did I get to introduce Minister Hussein properly?
You are right in the middle.
Okay. So I want to do him the due justice. I will just start back up just for a moment. So I'd like to introduce the Honorable Ahmed Hussein. After earning a law degree from the University of Ottawa, Minister Hussein practiced law in the areas of criminal defense, immigration and refugee law, and human rights. The Honorable Ahmed Hussein was first elected in 2015 to represent the riding of York South-Weston. He has previously served as the Minister of Families, Children, and Social Development, and currently is the Minister of Housing, Diversity, and Inclusion. Yesterday, as you've heard many times now, the BlackNorth Initiative, in partnership with Habitat for Humanity GTA and empowered by Dream Legacy Foundation, in support of Minister Hussein and the Government of Canada, we launched a homeownership bridge program with an incredible investment of $10 million. Minister Hussein, thank you for your contribution and welcome.
Thank you so much, Dahabo, for that kind introduction. I'm very pleased to join all of you here. This is an important day to reflect on the importance of making sure that we continue making progress on issues that are important to Black Canadians. And by the way, happy Black History Month. Yesterday was a big day, and I am proud of and Dream Legacy Foundation and Habitat for Humanity. We were able to launch a really important program, as has been said, not just about housing, but really about intergenerational wealth and social mobility and true inclusion and economic development. Really, you know, it serves so many different purposes. So I'm glad we were able to cross the finish line, and I believe that, you know, that initiative will not only make a difference for those families, but will transform the lives of so many other people who are connected to those families and beyond. Will set an example for the rest of the community in terms of pursuing ways to have economic development. Black History Month for me is an opportunity, I think, for all of us to learn a little bit more every year about the history and contributions and excellence of Black Canadians. And I want to start by really acknowledging Senator Dawn Oliver. Senator, you've been a mentor and an inspiration for so many of us who have come after you, so many members of Black Caucus, folks who have run in city council races and provincial politics. We look to you, and we followed your career very closely. The work, the amazing work that you did in the Canadian Senate to push on issues of true inclusion and breaking down barriers, and really working within committees and with your colleagues and out of the Senate as well. You haven't stopped, and you've been quite the inspiration for so many of us, and it is such an honor for me to join you here today. I want to really highlight the importance of making sure that each and every year we add to that knowledge by Black Canadians, but also by our allies and by the larger population of the immensity of Black Canadian history in Canada. The number of years that history stretches back, the different layers, the different perspectives, and the diversity from coast to coast to coast is simply incredible. I'm still learning, and I know so many of you are. And I think the trick is to make sure that every single Black History Month we continue that work, because that work never ends. The second point is really on the barriers, and you are doing that in your own way through the BlackNorth Initiative, but I think there's a role for government, there's a role for the private sector, there's a role for community members, there's a role for individuals, there's a role for the nonprofit sector. We all have to do this together. For us to, as Senator Dawn Oliver said, to dismantle the barriers that we see all around us in various different systems, including the one that he highlighted, which is the healthcare system. I mean, you go into a healthcare facility to get better, not to be confronted with prejudice. And, that's when a lot of us are at our most vulnerable. And to have Indigenous and Black people experience severe forms of hate and discrimination and put downs is really unbecoming in this day and age. And I think we need to do more to tackle that. In addition to that, our government and our government structures, both at the municipal level, at the provincial level, at the federal level, have to look like Canada, which means that the 3.5 million Canadians of African descent, as Senator Don Alder mentioned, have to be reflected, both in the makeup of those institutions, but also in the policies that we pursue. And that's why I'm very proud of the fact that we are making progress, but we have to build on that progress and really build on that strong foundation. So, for example, for a number of decades, not years, decades, Black Canadian nonprofit organizations have been asking the government of Canada to invest in their capacity to do more, not in programming, but in capacity and infrastructure. And we're the first government that heard that call and listened and delivered. And now we have the Supporting Black Canadian Communities Initiative, which funds the capacity of the small organizations right across the country. We all know them. They have amazing credibility. They do so much. They've done so much, and they continue to do so much for so long with so little resources. And Senator, I want to report one success story from those investments. For $100,000, we were able to save the church that used to be frequented by Harriet Tubman and others, her contemporaries, as part of the Underground Railroad. This church is in St. Catharines, Ontario. It was falling apart, but because of these investments, that piece of Canadian history, that piece of the Underground Railroad, that piece of Black Canada will be preserved, and its lifespan will be extended for future generations. I'm proud that we did that for a very small investment, which had a big impact. If you see the investments we're making in Windsor to preserve those communities and to preserve those memories and stories, including the Freedom Museum just outside of Windsor. Those are the kinds of things we're doing, but more importantly, also the Black Canadian Centers of Justice, and making sure that we pursue criminal justice reforms that introduce the consideration of the impact of systemic racism by a judge or a jury before sentencing upon conviction. That is something that is not available now, and it's something that we have said that we will deliver very quickly, and it's something that I'm proud to have worked on together with the Justice Minister. So a lot is happening. Finally, when it comes to business, we introduced the Black Entrepreneurship Program to support Black Canadian entrepreneurs who are traditionally denied access to capital by traditional financial institutions. And by setting up the Black Entrepreneurship Program, a $350 million program, we're showing the way to these banks to say, look, these entrepreneurs deserve your support. They deserve access to capital like everyone else. And by holding them back, you're actually not only holding them back, you're holding the entire community back, you're holding the entire country back, because those entrepreneurs create jobs and prosperity for all of us, Black or non-Black. So the Black Entrepreneurship Program is about supporting Black entrepreneurs who are facing pressures as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, but also enabling them to thrive after the pandemic so that we can have a truly inclusive and broad economic recovery by everyone, not just a few. So I want to thank all of you for everything that you do. I want to reassure you once again that you have a strong partner in government. Our government listens, we consult, we take your perspectives, and we work very closely with all of you to make sure that we get it right. And are we there yet? No, but we have come a long way, but we have a long way to go. Thank you so much. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Minister Hussein. I'll be the first one to say that, you are the definition of progress. And I always say that progress is progressive. I remember the day that you first became minister, and I was sitting in my office and thinking, this is someone who represents me. This is someone who looks like me. And this is our first Black minister in cabinet, and what an incredible honor. And so thank you, Minister Hussein, for the work that you continue to do. You are the change that we want to see in the world. Our next guest speaker is Regional Chair Unica. Chair Unica formerly held the position of Regional Councillor for Ward 7 in Mississauga. He served on numerous boards and committees during his time as councillor. He's also the proud recipient of the Queen's Diamond Jubilee Award for 25 years of volunteer service on such agencies as the Trillium Hospital Foundation, Red Cross, Mississauga Symphony, and the Mississauga Food Bank. Chair Unica was appointed to serve as Regional Council Representative on the Regional Municipality of Peel Police Service. On December 13, 2018, Chair Unica is the 5th Regional Chair in the region's 44-year history. Chair Unica, welcome.
Thank you very much, and what a marvelous privilege this is. So I want to start by saying in the 34 years that I've had the privilege of being in public life, I don't know that I've ever shared, even virtually, a dais with such esteemed individuals. To be here with Senator Oliver and Thomas Bernard, Wes Hall, what a privilege, what a joy, what a gem you have in your community, and what a great Canadian. And Michelle Jean, I mean, what an honor to be on with the former Governor General and the esteem she carried and all the great work she still does through Haiti and the needs there. And Minister Hussein, let me tell you, I love Minister Hussein because every time I meet with Minister Hussein, he comes bearing gifts. We're talking about housing. The last time I had the privilege to stand side by side with Minister Hussein 2 years ago before COVID, he was handing me in the region of Peel a $256 million check for the government's 10-year commitment to housing in Peel. That's after our council committed a $1 billion program, our $333 million as well over 10 years, so that we could build $1 billion of housing in Peel over the next 10 years. Now, I'm still working on some friends at Queen's Park. We're waiting for their 1/3 check, but I'm hopeful it's on its way. But no one in my 34 years has ever done more for housing in the time that I've been around in my jurisdiction than Minister Hussein, Prime Minister Trudeau, and this government. That's just the fact. Now, why is this so important to me? And Wes touched upon this. Here's a bit of the history for the region of Peel and why we've stepped up here. Home ownership allows people to build equity. It's just that simple. And nothing is more important in terms of legacy and moving a family forward, in my opinion. This provides financial stability for retirement and allows generations to transfer wealth to their children. In the Greater Toronto Area and Hamilton, however, research indicates that decades of systemic racism have caused Black households to be underrepresented among ownership households, and that gap is growing. So it is that in June 2020, the region of Peel officially recognized anti-Black racism in Peel as a crisis. This recognition affirmed that we needed to take action. The following year, in May 2021, our regional council endorsed the BlackNorth Initiative Pledge, and I believe we were the first government in Canada to do so. This meant that we committed to addressing this systemic racism and discrimination by supporting policies and programs that address these inequities. This commitment resulted in our Diversity, Equity, and Anti-Racism Committee approving a grant of $2.5 million to fund BlackNorth's Home Ownership Bridge program. The grant will assist 50 Black renter families in Peel to realize the opportunity of home ownership here in Peel region. Now, let me tell you why I think that's so important. There's two thoughts that come to mind. You know, it corrects one of the things that government, if I may say, historically does wrong. Anybody that's involved in government, anybody that studies it knows that for every dollar we can give at the front end to give somebody a hand up, you are saving $6 or $8 downstream. And yet when the challenges come downstream from not helping someone early, the $8 is more readily found. Let me give you an example. It seems there isn't a year when the police come asking for more bodies, and just last year, the year before, 25 new officers, that's $5 million. About 100,000 in salary and then 100,000 in benefits, the vehicles, the gas, et cetera, et cetera. Never seems to be a problem bringing that money forward. And yet we would dream of saying no to 2.5 million for grants in housing that helps people get on their feet and be independent and do the jobs and prosper in society, and you get the tax revenue back. Somehow it's harder to find that. And that is a crime. That is a shame, because it is an investment in our future, which is why this initiative means so much to me. But I've got a second, more personal perspective on it. I want to tell you a story that I know well. And it's about, the immigrant way of life here in Canada. And there's immigrant family. There was a gentleman called Mario, was born in Italy of all places, just outside of Rome. And in the 50s, he came to Canada. And the reason he came to Canada was as a 16-year-old, His gift for his birthday was 2 sheep. You heard me correctly. On a farm, he was given 2 sheep. By the time he was 21, he had turned the 2 sheep into 50, sold them, and bought his passage into Canada, because Canada had work programs on farms if you came from a farm, so you knew how to work the farms. And so it was that Mario, this gentleman, ended up in Caledon, Ontario, within the region of Peel. His first home was a barn. So he lived in the barn amongst the animals. Mario could handle a hammer, he could fix any farm equipment, so he built himself a little unit within the barn, managed to heat it somehow, and he lived for 2 years in the barn while tending to the animals. After 2 years under his agreement, he was a naturalized Canadian citizen and came down to Cooksville, Ontario, again within Mississauga and within Peel, and went to the brickyard because he knew a lot of his immigrant friends, Italians, Croatians, ended up at the brickyard. And while at the brickyard, they said, we have a place for you to stay. It was a former prisoner of war camp that German prisoners were held in during the Second World War. Little known fact, during the war, if you did acquire German prisoners, you couldn't put them on the continent, they were fighting. So there wasn't a safe place to put them. They came across the Atlantic, down the St. Lawrence, they ended up in Port Credit and at the brickyard site in Cooksville. Well, when the war was over, they vacated. These immigrants came and they saw these prisoners' barracks and said, we can live there. Again, they knew which end of a hammer to hold. They dressed them up. So it was that they turned them into semis, and 6 men lived on one side, 6 men lived on the other in bunk beds, and prospered and saved a buck while they put some money aside. Mario put a little bit of money aside, moved down the road with his brother, and bought their first home together, just down the road, right in the heart of Cooksville. And then after a while, they got married, they went back home, married their sweethearts from the old village, came back home, started having kids, so someone had to move out. It was Mario that had to move out, and in the early 60s, bought a real fixer-upper of a house, had a beautiful big lot though, and after fixing it up, the market had changed. He was offered very good money for that house, so him and his wife, Maria, sold the house and moved into a beautiful brand new bungalow for $32,600. And so it was that at the age of 35, Mario had paid for his home. Now this was important because Mario, for the rest of his life, would never make more than $29,700. His highest income year, 40 years of making bricks with his hands at the brickyard, was $29,700. Yet he managed to put his 4 children through university and take care of his wife, all in that salary. And his 4 kids ended up with 11 university degrees. And Mario was my father. And I'm the runt of the litter. And had it not been, and father would say till his dying day, and his mother, biggest decision of their life was coming to Canada. And the second was being able to acquire a home at a very young age. Whereas had they not had the home and had they had to pay rent, etc., with a modest income, they couldn't have sustained themselves. Their kids couldn't have gone to university, etc., etc. And that is where the importance of home ownership and equity was instilled in me, because his children, all 4 of us, got to stay home through our university years. What a joy to not pay rent. Now, many of us contributed towards our own education. Some didn't. Dad and mom helped with that. But in the end, what a valuable asset that we could have left the home at 25 years old, maybe put aside a few dollars like I did, and that was my down payment on my home. And so it is that I'm in this home now all these years later. And to complete the cycle, can you imagine? Here I am, proud of my wife, Anne-Marie, my 2 boys, Damien and Francis, recent University of Toronto graduates. The older son living at home, part-time work, always working hard, but never had to pay rent, got to put his money aside and put the down payment on a new home himself at age 26. But Wes is smiling because he knows where the story goes about family equity. But when it came to financing, there was a little bit of a challenge. Like you said, Wes, one of these people that makes $70,000, $80,000 starting out in his career, but not enough that the banks could say, between your equity, your down payment, do you have enough? So all mom and dad had to do was sign. I didn't have to give them a penny because I had enough equity in this house to just sign that the bank didn't have to worry about the loan. And so it is that my son got into home ownership just by working part-time, graduating, getting a full-time job, and being able to have me use a piece of this house, and my wife, in the form of a signature, so that it carries on in terms of equity. That is why this means so much to me. That's why the program means so much. And so in supporting it wholeheartedly, in my mind, and all the blessings we've had, and with praise to my mother and father and the people that have given me this privilege, with great respect, I hope I'm not giving you $50,000. I hope I'm giving you your 2 sheep. And I hope your family will be as blessed as mine has been. So thank you very much for this privilege. That's why this matters. And I'm so proud on behalf of the region of Peel that we could be a part of it. Thank you so, so much.
Wow, Chair Unica, thank you for telling that story. I will tell you firsthand that storytelling is how Black communities share their experiences, the most memorable and impactful moments of their lives. You've done that for us today. Thank you for that, because I could imagine what impacts you've had in your life just by being able to own a home. And so we are happy to have you, the Peel region, part of this journey with us. You were the first to sign the pledge. We hope that there will be very, very many more that will sign and follow your leadership.
Thank you.
And so up next, we have our panel discussion. And so I will be bringing up all of my partners in crime. I feel like I have so many now. And we'll talk a little bit about this concept of home ownership and what it means for us, how we got all started, where did this idea come from? How did we get all these allies? How do the allies feel about this program? What does it mean for us as a collective to work together and show the impact around allyship? And so first on the panel, we have the founder of Dream Legacy Foundation, Isaac Oluwafe, who is the entrepreneur, business owner, and philanthropist. Under Dreammaker Inc., created over the last decade, the vertical integration is operated, which includes brokerage, wealth management, property management, education, development, private equity, and now insurance. Next on our panel, we have Ian Underwood. She's the CEO of Habitat for Humanity, GTA. Ian's career began in the private sector as a strategy consultant with McKinsey & Company before transitioning into the public and nonprofit sectors, where she held senior leadership positions in some of Canada's leading hospitals. Ian has served on various nonprofit boards and was the chair of 3-year Ontario Government Commission examining child welfare. Welcome, Ian. Our third panelist is Dave Wilkes, who is the president and CEO of the Building Industry and Land Development Association of GTA. The association has 1,300 members and proudly represents builders, developers, professional renovators, and those that support the industry. Dave is committed to supporting volunteer boards and organizations. He has previously served on the George Brown College Board of Directors, Ontario Curling Association, and is currently engaged with BlackNorth Initiative Housing Committee and Relabs IT Council. So let's get the conversation started. Look, I'm excited to have the 3 of you here because we've been at this for a long time, have we not? And every time we think about, I remember the moment yesterday, and we're all there thinking, is this really happening? And we're all looking at each other going, yeah, it's actually happening. And so it's that moment where you're realizing that a dream has come true. And I think there's a beauty in that. And so I want to take the opportunity right now to thank all of you for your endless contributions, for never letting go, for never relenting, for pushing the envelope every opportunity that you had, because we would not be here without your sacrifices and your support. And so a good round of applause to all of you for the work that you have done and continue to do. And so we're going to get into talking about home ownership and what it means to us. I think as we think about the Home Ownership Bridge program, and Isaac, I'm going to turn to you. Love for you to tell us a little bit about why this program is so important for us to build.
Absolutely. First off, I just want to welcome everyone. It's a great honor and privilege to be here today. The Minister, I want to thank you again for that announcement yesterday. Senator, Regional Chair, thank you for your support, Michelle Jean. The great question, why did we build this program? So the Homeownership Bridge program, as you mentioned, is one of the biggest programs within the BNN's program list to help build generational wealth. As we all know, the stats are out there that Black Canadians are in the core missing out on the housing needs. And the Black Homeownership Bridge program is built to assist families, household with income as low as $65,000 to $90,000 with at least one dependent. And the reason we decided to focus on home ownership is really the ripple effect of home ownership. The importance of this program is to tackle building generational wealth for the Black community, because we've seen home ownership has enabled generations of Canadians to build equity, to start businesses, to support children's post-secondary education, provide retirement for transfer of wealth, and to create sustainability. But most importantly, home ownership for a community is the start of building infrastructure and a sustainable community for that specific community. So this is why, as a committee, we decided to start with home ownership.
Thank you, Isaac. Look, I think, I remember living in Ottawa housing for decades when we immigrated to Canada. And, we thought it was normal to live in homes that looked like what they looked like. And we all know what housing, community housing spaces look like. But I thought it was normal. I thought I went out, saw people who looked like me. I thought this is where we all belong. It's only when I started to go to my friend's house, who were not part of the marginalized communities, that I saw the difference. And I'd ask my mom, how come we don't own a home? And she'd say, in a very kind way, we're not able to, not at least now, but we will. But the responsibility to be able to own a home was not just on my mother, it was a collective. That means I had to go work part-time. I had to put some money away. My brother had to do the same thing. My sisters had to do the same thing. But we thought it was normal where we lived, but it wasn't normal, right? And so what we are trying to do, and why this program means so much to me, is that I want little Dahabas out there to be able to look at the spaces that they live, they sleep, they eat, they grow up in, they get raised in, to be a place of honor and dignity and integrity that you can be proud of. And so I think I'm so excited to be able to bring a dream like that to reality for so many people in our communities. And, we wouldn't be able to do this alone. And we talk about this all the time, that the Black problem, it's not just for the Black community to solve, and that really it's going to take a collective. And so I want to turn to Ian first, and Dave, I'll come to you in a moment. But Ian, if you can talk about, why did your organization commit to developing and partnering this program? What does it mean for you and your organization?
Thanks, Dahabo, and same theme as everyone else. It's just such an honor, and it's so exciting to be here together with who is here today. I appreciate your comments on storytelling, because I think stories, you're right, stories move us. So for me, like so many non-Black Canadians in the wake of the murder of George Floyd, I found myself wanting to read everything, listen to podcasts, watch things, etc., and understand more of what is our Canadian story. One of the books that just absolutely galvanized me was actually a book by Denham Jolly. Many of you will know Denham Jolly. I've never met the man, but a Canadian philanthropist, businessman, member of Order of Canada, founder of Flow Radio, many things. And he wrote this book called In the Black. And as I read the book, just his own story about the amount of discrimination he faced in this country, but this theme throughout, his father had told him always own land. And when he was able to come to Canada permanently, owning land became part of his story. And just as I read, seeing how he was able to leverage land, see his experience of needing to take a white person with him to kind of masquerade as being the home buyer, and he pretended to be the renovator so that he was able to buy a home. Like, as I read those stories, as I read the statistics of all of which have been cited today, I was so struck that Habitat for Humanity has been building, helping, partnering with Black Canadians, Canadians of all backgrounds for over 30 years. We in the GTA, we have many Black families, but it so struck me, we have to do more. We have to do more. And then in parallel, Wes, I saw the emergence of this new organization, the BlackNorth Initiative, that is so committed to removing barriers at every level of Canadian life by empowering all of Canadian society. And so this just felt, this is so much what we should be part of. And I think most importantly, it was a motivation to say we need to do more. But it was also just so clear to me, I will be a better Canadian by more fully engaging and learning from the Black community in this process. The organization I lead will be a better, more effective organization by working with Black-led organizations in the way that it has now come to fruition. So for all of us at Habitat for Humanity, we are so very, very proud of being able to work with you in the BlackNorth Initiative, the governments, et cetera. You're probably going to ask a question later, but I don't want to have it lost in the thread. There's a lot more to be done. There's these homes, 200 homes just in the GTA, and I know people are saying, when can we get it to the rest of Canada? The 200 homes in the GTA will cost $100 million to deliver. Between the mortgages that families will be part of and the money that's being committed by governments, we'll still need at least 20 million more. So we are not done. We can absolutely do this, but we are not done, and we will absolutely need to work together to fulfill the promise of what we are committing to today.
Ian, I love first of all, I love everything that you've said, but I think the one thing that resonated with me is around what does systemic change look like? And we think sometimes that systems are just these machines that are in motion, but systems are built by people. And when people, especially those of us and those of you that are in leadership roles, when you have the opportunity to sort of have this awakening moment, or, you know, a moment where you're saying to yourself, something's got to change here, and I can be part of that solution. I can be part of the narrative changing. I can be part of future generations having better opportunities. I can be part of that. And so I think there's a beauty in your awakening and the way that you've shifted that. And when you shift, your systems shift. And so it is very much a behavioral, personal journey. And so thank you, Ian, for highlighting that for us and what true allyship looks like. Dave, look, I want to hear, look, you've been incredible from the jump. I think, you know, you've been right there. You've never hesitated to get into the ring with us. And I think there's such a strength in the way that you do things and the way that you push all the time. And so I love to hear from you sort of why you joined. What was that commitment that you made, and what did it mean for you? And how do we do this to work together? What does allyship mean to you?
Dahabo, first off, I want to echo what everybody said, and with the risk of repetition, allow me to do so. It's an honor to be here. I'm humbled to share this virtual stage with the people that I am. In many ways, I don't feel worthy to share this stage, but I accept the challenge of doing so, and I accept the challenge of making change. And Dahabo, the reason I joined is I had a bit of a personal awakening when we saw the murder of George Floyd. I felt ashamed to be part of this society, and I didn't want to take the Canadian approach. That's not us. That's our friends in the U.S. It is us, and it is something that, as Wes said at the beginning, I didn't want to be asked the question of, well, what did you do? I didn't want to ask myself that question, what did I do? And I certainly didn't want to have that question asked by my daughter and by my friends and by those that I surround myself. I didn't want to live in a community that didn't make a change and that we experienced what I take for granted, but I probably shouldn't, and recognize that my reality was not yours to have. And so that was what motivated me to get involved. I have the privilege and honor and great pride in representing the building and land development industry, those that build homes for people. And in my mind, there's probably no bigger responsibility than building a place to live, much like Chair Unica said, that creates not only a grounding and a foundation, but a wealth transfer. And so it was our responsibility in my mind to be part of this solution. And I was certainly have a lot of respect for Ian. Ian invited me to participate, and we wanted to use our association's voice, our relationships, and in a certain way, our credibility, if I can be so bold, to create a push for our members to be part of the solution that the Bridge Homeownership Program defines. So it was with that sense of responsibility for being part of a future that I was proud of, as opposed to part of a future that, as I said, was one that I wasn't. And recognizing the role that our industry could play in that path forward. There's a lot more work to be done. We have made a collective impact by being here today. I'm grateful for the support of the region and the federal government. I'm grateful for the support of our members that have stepped forward and provided units that Black families will be moved into. But if we stop here, that's failure. We need to continue, and I encourage everyone listening and those that aren't to step forward and use the opportunity that this country has given us, use the opportunity that your own communities have given you, and share that opportunities with the Black community, because we'll be all better for it. So I come with a challenge, I come with gratitude, and I come with humility, and look forward to continuing to be part of a change that we all need.
Thank you, David. Look, I think there's this thing that we have started to do, I think, that at least I haven't seen in my generation. And I think that's the most incredible sight of hope, is that we are allowing ourselves to fully be ourselves, to be vulnerable, to say things and use words like, look, I was ashamed and I wanted to do something about it. And I think, you know, this exercise that we've all gone through, at least in the last 20 months or so, of holding the mirror up to ourselves. And I don't know if it was the collide between, you know, racial tensions and COVID-19, or actually seeing the revolution literally televised a year and a half ago, where we watched people stand up for the rights of people that look like myself and Isaac and others. I think there's this thing that happened. And, you know, for those of you that continue to pitch in your contributions and know that every step forward that we take together has a bigger impact for the next generation. I want them to be able to look at us and say, look at what my generation, my former generation did, right? So making it easier for the next. And so thank you for being part of that narrative, David. And Isaac, I want to come back to you for a moment, because, you know, you've worked with so many Black families and Black communities for so long. You know, there's a momentum that you've built within Dream Legacy and within your team that's allowed to hear firsthand from Black communities what a program like this would do for them. And so I'd love to hear from you with respect to what the impact you think will be on Black families in creating generational wealth.
Absolutely. You know, and RBC CRIMS put out a stat last year. It said, it pointed out that racialized groups, including Black Canadians, if they owned similar homes like other Canadians, the net worth will be up $100 billion higher. Like, that's a drastic number when you look at the impact of that wealth creation. And when you look at it the last 10 years in the GTA, the home prices and the growth of the home prices and what the equity has been able to do for a lot of families that were part of that growth is a massive ripple effect, not only for children today, but for children's children. That's what generational wealth is. And that's why with this Homeownership Bridge program, and families have already been reaching out, they see this tackling that problem head on and creating a path of generational wealth. You know, for the last 15 years and really the last 10 years through Dream Legacy Foundation, our goal was really about how do we bridge the gap between institutions and the Black community from an economic point of view. And we've done that through the healthcare space and through the entrepreneurship program. But to be able to do this with a home ownership program, I think will have the biggest impact. Because as mentioned, home ownership creates that sustainability from an individual family, but then it starts to create that sustainability from a community point of view. And the conversations we're having with families is that by them able to own a home, they now could start thinking that if they own it for a few years, they could use that equity for their daughter or their son that has post-education in the next few years. If they own that home, they could now retire and pass it down and start creating that generational wealth. So really, families are excited about this program. As David Ian mentioned, this is just a start. We know that there's more work to be done. And our goal, as we see probably thousands of applications come in, and knowing we have 200 homes to start with, we need to create more solutions to get more homes and create a path to more home ownership for those families.
Thank you, Isaac. You know, as you were sort of ironing out what the incredible and positive outcomes that are going to come out of this, I thought there's never been a deficit in resources. Never been. There's plenty of it. There's only ever been a deficit in human will. And I think there's an incredible will that's here. And that comes with power to change. And so thank you. Thank you for that. Look, I could spend all evening and all afternoon and all evening with the three of you. But look, we're going to wrap up in a moment. And I want to give everyone the opportunity to maybe offer some closing remarks with respect to, first of all, how you feel today. Like I want to hear joy and emotion out of all of you, and I want you to just take in the moment that we're in. We're always go, but let's take a pause and reflect on where we are right now. And I want you to sort of tell us, what is your call to action? And I'll start with Ian.
Dahabo, that's a great question. How do I feel? I asked myself that this morning when I woke up. Because over the last year and a half, there have been a lot of nights like I've woken up in the middle of the night with, how do we do this? How can we make it work? Because Isaac, when we started, like it felt like it was all going to happen fast. And it did. We hoped to have this announcement like over a year ago, and it was harder than we thought to get here. But how do I feel? I feel really good to be here. I feel proud of us collectively about how we've come together as a collective community. And now I think I'd also say I feel a lot of responsibility. And because I know there are a lot of people watching this today, as well as that have heard the news, that are hearing through the grapevine about this opportunity. And I know how much people want this to happen for themselves. So I mostly feel an awful lot of responsibility to keep doing everything I can, everything my organization can, in partnership with all the will, as you said, like the strong will. This is the right thing to do. Let's make it happen. So there's a bunch of how do I feel. Thanks for asking.
No, I love that. I love that. In my faith, we call it amana, which means duty. So when a duty is upon you, you feel the weight. And so I think that's what you're describing as you're speaking, the duty to do better for our communities. And so thank you for taking that on, Ian. Dave, how do you feel?
I feel great. And for those that know me, I'm incredibly impatient today because I think 200 homes is nowhere near enough. And I think that I feel impatient. I want to do more. I feel our industry has a responsibility of those because we build the homes that the families will live in. I feel grateful for the work that the BlackNorth Housing Committee did and the various members of the committee that under Isaac's leadership and with Ian and I that aren't here today participated. And I'm very pleased that we've shone a light on this. But I get back to where I started. I'm incredibly impatient, but that's a sort of resting state for me. And I want to do more. And the call to action I have is that within our industry, as you're looking at new communities, as you're building new developments, it becomes part of the norm to set aside housing for those that need it the most, and to set aside housing for the broader Habitat community programs, but for the BlackNorth Bridge program as well. And it just becomes part of the pro forma. It becomes part of the investment we all have as members of this community. So impatience is not unique, and I see a bolder and brighter future because we've shone a light on it, and it just becomes something we do because it's not only the right thing to do, but it's an expectation to do it.
Absolutely. I'm glad you're impatient, David. We're all impatient.
I'm impatient, trust me.
I know we all get on calls at times and we're like, what is going on? How do we get this done? How do we just eradicate this barrier? And I love the impatience that I know we all have in this space. And so continue to do that, continue to be that for us. And thank you, Dave, for your incredible contributions. And yes, you're right. You know, there's a few of us that you see on screen today, but there's an entire housing committee at BlackNorth, incredible members, and you'll hear about them in a moment, but they have been right there with all of us and driving and being that force that continues to push. And so thank you for mentioning that, David. It's very much appreciated. Isaac, how do you feel? What's your call to action?
For me, I feel a sense of appreciation. A few years ago, my call to action in a time like this would be to the government to step forward and really lean in on supporting Black businesses, supporting Black nonprofits and Black serving nonprofits. So I feel a sense of appreciation because that's exactly what they've done over the last 12 months. They've really laid a foundation for Black-led and Black serving organization to be able to move the Black community to a new realm that we're going in for economic inclusion, a new realm that we're going for economic sustainability in both entrepreneurship and now housing. So for me, I'm thankful to the federal government. I'm thankful to Peel Region and other municipalities and government that will be coming on board, and also thankful to the corporations, the banks, and the builders that are raising their hands and seeing how they could help as well too, because we know that we're going to need the support of each of these institutions, strategic institutions, to break down these systemic barriers. Because by having institutions like government supporting Black-led and Black serving organization is critical because it brings lived experiences. It brings drastic changes rapidly. So today I'm just appreciated, thankful, because there's a great path and a great future for our community.
I feel like we built we've gone about this like the Ubuntu way. You know, it takes a village. This is literally a village. You see all of us, all different backgrounds, different gender, different ideas, perspectives, and thoughts, and we're all doing this together because that's the impact of doing it collectively. And so, again, thank you to all of you. I've heard duty, I've heard impatience, I've heard appreciation, and I'm just honored to be sharing this space with all of you and doing this work, you know, side by side, arm in arm, shoulder in shoulder. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
So I think we're ready for a break. We're going to take a few moments to take a break. DJ Donovan is going to just grace us with his incredible moves and incredible choices of music. And we want you to lay back, relax, and enjoy the music.
DJ Donovan, let's go. Yeah, this set, you should know these songs. Afro, baby.
My baby, my Valentine. Can I hear the making my temperature the rise? If you leave me, I could die. I swear, you are like the oxygen I need to survive. I'll be honest. Your loving me, totally me. I am so obsessed. I want to jump your body.
You're feeling it.
instruction.
Oh yeah.
Balanda. Come on. Oh, yeah, come take a picture. Run right now, you're fine. Oh, yeah, follow my instruction. Don't tell a mess. Come they move like a disco. One nick in my lolata. Happy pose, happy actor. So never give me balanda.
Black empowerment.
Oh, yeah, come take a picture.
Celebrate it.
Run right now, you're fine. Oh, yeah, follow my instruction.
Here we go. Oh yeah.
I need you in the morning, but I need you now.
So sweet.
Yeah, yeah. I find you, I give you what you needing. I know what you like. You don't need no other body. You don't need no other body. Only you feel on my body. Only you feel on my body.
Alright, here we go. Come on.
You don't need no other. You know the feeling. Make you try to enjoy. Fine line, you know the finish. Make you try to enjoy. Say kata kata uru uru, not the finish. Make you try to enjoy. Problem, you know the finish. So make you try to enjoy. Make you dance like Luala. Luala. Make you dance like Luala. Luala. Make you dance like Luala.
You're still with me, right? Get up with the chairs.
See this time, cannot give myself. I just want to live my life if I'm judging. I don't like that. I don't go find your trouble. I don't like the salad. So spend my money the double. As my money the double, you make me happy.
DJ Donovan, thank you so much. He continues to grace us with these incredible moves. I had to turn my camera off because I was dancing in the background. And so, you know, as the older I get, the less moves I've got. So I was trying to dance in the background. So thank you, DJ Donovan, for giving us a moment to just stay in a moment of just joy. And I appreciate you as always. Our next guest speaker is the Honorable Senator Wanda Thomas Bernard. Dr. Bernard is a highly regarded social worker, educator, researcher, community activist, and advocate for social change. She has worked in mental health at the provincial level, in rural community practices at the municipal level, and since 1990 as a professor at Dalhousie School of Social Work, where she also served as a director for a decade. Dr. Thomas Bernard has worked with provincial organizations to bring diversity to the political processes in Nova Scotia and teach community members about Canada's legislative process and citizen engagement. Senator, welcome.
Thank you so much, Dahabo. I have been so blessed and so moved by all that I have heard and seen on this day. And I'm so grateful that you held this on a Saturday, because it means that I could actually stay for the whole day. And so far, no interruptions from the grandson. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm honored, truly honored to be here with you today. I'm joining you from my quote unquote retirement home that I built in East Preston, Nova Scotia 16 years ago. So I've been thinking about retirement for that long. But all the talk today about home ownership just made me appreciate so much living here on Black Loyalist land. And also I'm grateful to be joining you from the unceded and unsurrendered territory of the Mi'kmaq people. My preferred pronouns are she and her. And I want to thank you for inviting me to join you for this such special occasion. To the Honorable Michael Jean, Senator Oliver, Minister Hussein, I don't know if he's still with us or not, Mr. West Hall, to all of the special guests, all of the speakers, the panelists, and those who have joined us today. This is truly a special day to be recognizing the work of the BlackNorth Initiative, to hear about all of the work that you were doing has been like medicine for my spirit, food for my soul, truly, truly, truly. I'm inspired by what you are doing. I'm inspired by what I've heard here today. I've been asked to speak briefly about the importance of Black History Month. And I would say, you know, as an African Nova Scotian woman, coming a generation behind Senator Oliver and standing on his shoulders and the shoulders of those of his generation who were pushing for change and pushing for rights. I'm privileged to be here despite the everydayness of the racism that I continue to fight. So when I think about being the middle child of 12 children, 13 if you count the godchild that my mother also raised. My father died when I was 12, the trauma, the impact that had, but also the awareness that it brought. Leaving the safety of a segregated school, and although schools were legally segregated in Nova Scotia until 1954, but because of segregated geography and systemic racism, we still had segregated schools in existence. I went to one up until the age of 12 in grade 8. But I know that today I live the dreams of my ancestors. I live the dreams of those who were pushing for equal rights. My 10-year-old grandson asked me today, so Nanny, was there a civil rights movement in Nova Scotia? I thought that was just in the States. Interesting question, isn't it? So for me, Black History Month is a time to hit the pause button, a time to learn more about our ancestors, those who made a way out of no way, a time to pay tribute to those who paved the path for the rest of us to follow. Black History Month is a time for us to share this history, to shine a spotlight on the past contributions, but it's also a time for us to shine a spotlight on the current issues, the current systemic racism, the current anti-Black racism that we are still fighting. And as much as I would like to think that we've made a lot of progress, the reality is we still have so much more progress to make. However, there's also hope. So I see Black History Month as a time for us to shine a light on the future. And that is what the BlackNorth Initiative is doing. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart for all of those members of our community from coast to coast to coast who will benefit from the BlackNorth Initiative. I want to say thank you, Mr. Hall, for your leadership. And thank you to everyone who has signed on, everyone who's in the trenches doing the work. This year, actually, I'm using the 7 principles of Kwanzaa or the Nuzo Saba to guide discussions about actions that we can and should take to lead change. Those principles: umoja, unity; kujitagulia, self-determination; ujima, collective work and responsibility; ujama, cooperative economics; nia, purpose; kumba, creativity; and amani, faith. We've seen all of that played out before us in this session today. How awesome is that? And let me just let you in on a little secret. Maybe it won't be a secret after this. One of the visuals that I'm using to talk about cooperative economics is your CEO and founder, Wes Hall, which gives me an opportunity to talk in every presentation about the BlackNorth initiative and the work that you are doing. And it's wonderful to hear more about some of your work today. So when I think about honoring the contributions, first of all, I think we need to acknowledge, but then we need to teach. The absence of our stories, having our stories taught, having our full history taught, the absence of that in our school systems across this country is hugely problematic. And it's not surprising then that the murder of Mr. George Floyd led to what I call the dual pandemic, the global awakening about anti-Black racism, the global awakening and awareness. And all I can say is that I'm grateful for those who move from awareness to analysis, and part of that analysis being, what can I do? And I heard some of your panelists saying that, asking that very question. What can I do? What can I do to make a difference? What's my role? What's my responsibility? How can I change? And then my third A is action. Nothing will change if we don't get to actions. And we need everyone involved in those actions. The theme for this year's Black History Month is Forever February. And I've been adding to that, February forever. Black history is indeed Canadian history, and it's our responsibility to make sure, as when I say us, I mean us as Canadians, we need to be celebrating Black history all year round, not just during the month of February. February is the spotlight. Just like in this session, you put the spotlight on the person who's speaking. In February, we put the spotlight on Black history. But every other month of the year, we need to be teaching that history. And Senator Oliver gave some wonderful examples of how we can do that. But I think that part of what we need to do is to use the language of reparations. One of the reasons why I joined the cause of folks like Rosemary Sadler and others in the Ontario Black History Society to push to have Emancipation Day formally recognized in this country was to then force us to formally recognize and teach the full history, but also to get to reparations. You see, when we acknowledge Emancipation Day, guess what? We're acknowledging that slavery existed here. And we also then need to acknowledge that although slave owners were compensated, our ancestors who were enslaved were never compensated. Surely we are owed. We are owed an apology. And surely we are owed reparations. And I'd like to frame part of what I see happening with the BlackNorth initiative. Part of the reason why more than 500 companies have signed on, I'd like to think that those are actions that would fall under the rubric of reparations. But let's use the term so we teach about reparations. We teach about repairing the harm. There's so much harm caused by anti-Black racism, by the deep-seated systemic anti-Black racism. We talk about multi-generational wealth. As a social worker, I have to also bring in the reality of multi-generational trauma. And part of the reparations and the reparations movement must be about addressing and redressing that multi-generational trauma. Now, let me get to the call for actions that I've been asked to do at the end of this short talk. So here are some suggestions. I think that one of the things that's really, really important for us to do is to cut through the bureaucracy. We need to fully understand how bureaucracy holds us back and prevents us from truly integrating some of these really excellent ideas. And we need to move more quickly from idea to implementation. So I'm not saying, we don't need policies and we don't need clear practices, but I'm saying let's cut out the minutia that doesn't need to be there. I think Mr. Hall, in his opening remarks, talked about the fact that we're in the fight of our lives. Failure is not an option. And I don't know if we'll have another opportunity to engage in and to be part of a global movement for change. We are nearing the end of the decade for people of African descent. And I like to think of the decade in the same way that I think about Black History Month. This decade has been a time to put a spotlight on our issues, our realities, on anti-Black racism globally and locally and nationally. But beyond the decade, we want to get to those actions. Beyond the decade, we need to be thinking about what do we do? How do we change this? It's not enough just to recognize the issues. How do we change it? So I think we should think about reparations. And I want to invite the people who will watch this in the future and those who are on the call now. Think about what reparations mean in your organization. Think about what they will look like in your businesses, in your companies. And let's use the language of reparations so that it contributes to the healing. We need healing, multi-generational healing from the multi-generational trauma to be able to take advantage of the opportunities that the institutions like the BlackNorth Initiative is creating. And no matter who you are, no matter where you are, no matter what you do, no matter what your social location is, look around you. Look at what you have. Look at who's with you. Look at who's absent. Think about the privilege you have, whatever that privilege may be, and how you can use that privilege to help move the dial even a little bit more. We're in this together. And so if we're all working to bring forward systemic change, to bring forward reparations for hundreds of years of harm, then collectively, we will make a change. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Senator Wanda Thomas Bernard. You are a beacon of light and inspiration for all of us, especially for me. You've been an incredible role model. And I don't know how to thank Senator Wanda Thomas Bernard and then present Madame Michaëlle Jean. Like, I don't know how to do that. I'm stuck between incredible women who have been doing incredible work, visionaries. And I am absolutely honored to be able to present Madame Michaëlle Jean, who is the former Governor General and who was the 27th Governor General, Commander-in-Chief in Canada, sworn in September 27, 2005 for a 5-year mandate. She is a seasoned stateswoman and diplomat. Her voice is gifted with the power to convene everywhere in the multilateral sphere, in every UN forum, from New York to Geneva, all the way to the Security Council, as well as within the European Union, the European Parliament, the OECD, the African Union. Whew. She is a woman of action and vision. She has demonstrated fearless commitment in the promotion of peace, including encountering terrorism, radicalization, and extremism, humanist values, courage, tenaciousness, along with the incredible optimism that she carries, the creativity, and they're all hallmarks of her character. And so, Madame Michaëlle Jean, welcome.
Thank you so much, Dahabo, for your kind words of introduction of each of us here today, and for your incredible dedication to the cause. Honorable Minister Ahmed Hussein, Senator Wanda Thomas Bernard, Senator Don Oliver, Chair Unica, dear Wes Hall, founder and chairman of the BlackNorth Initiative. Greetings to all of you here present and joining on this call. I salute, the heartfelt, remarkable, and responsible efforts and all the contributions you are making, dear friends, to do what? To build the hope we share. And also, what we share is a sense of urgency. It's real. And knowing that every voice, every gesture counts, every action matters and makes a difference. Chers amis, c'est un immense plaisir de me joindre à vous aujourd'hui pour célébrer une étape aussi importante, je crois, dans l'essor que prend l'initiative BlackNorth pour le renforcement de toutes nos communautés réunies autour de ces projets, autour d'une cause aussi importante que celle de l'affranchissement économique et social des communautés noires. Et comme il est beau, n'est-ce pas, de voir se tisser autant d'alliances, autant de liens de solidarité. And today is an important milestone in the growth of the BlackNorth Initiative. Today is a clear sign of the momentum, the major push for justice, equity that has been growing over the last few years within Canadian society. Around a cause as important as the economic and social empowerment of Black communities, around such concrete, life-changing initiatives, how beautiful, how moving it is to see so many relationships being woven, so many alliances being forged. Now, here's something to celebrate. And today's a great day for racial and social justice towards the ultimate dismantlement of these indefensible institutional systems of discrimination that we have faced for generations. Not every day is like this. On the days when progress and advancement will again feel slow and painful, remember where we come from. The road we have traveled from 5 centuries of cruel, bloody disenfranchisement, how long we have come to dismantling a system based on the delusional belief in a superior race instituted to serve empires bent on capturing the wealth of the world for the benefit of the few. Well, by joining forces, we continue to break down the barriers put in the way of our well-being and development. So you say activate, I say yes, indeed. The BlackNorth Initiative plays a key role in the growing racial emancipation ecosystem we have created in a long chain of solidarity that pulls together a force, I would say, more powerful across Canada, a force more powerful as we join together with the vibrancy of the grassroots, of community organizations, of our youth, the young women and men who have taken to the streets with a fierce resolve that now inspires all of us. It's a multi-generational journey, a force more powerful as we join together with, the rallying call of Black Lives Matter, nothing about us without us. A force more powerful as we join together with the widening circles of people, institutions, and organizations that work to create solutions involving people in the decisions that affect them. A force more powerful as we pull together the many hues and shades of diversity to show the whole world just how much we have to gain by choosing inclusion over exclusion. A force more powerful as we join together to take action, not for anybody, but alongside with, together with, in a long chain of reciprocity and co-creation. A force more powerful as we build new pathways to a better society for all, not just for one group or tribe or select few, but for everybody. As we know, discrimination and exclusion continue in very concrete ways to impact, injure, and kill within Black, Indigenous, and racialized communities in Canada. Let me share some data highlighted by the Michael Jean Foundation in two of our most recent virtual sessions, one focused on entrepreneurship and employment, the other on Black health, part of the process leading up to the third National Black Canadians Summit to be held July 29, 31st, 2022 in Halifax on the eve of Emancipation Day, August 1st in Nova Scotia, where, of course, you are all invited. Scholars, researchers, and practitioners such as Professor Jude-Marie Sénard, head of the Interdisciplinary Center for Black Health at the University of Ottawa, have looked into the social determinants of health as they affect Black communities. And the data clearly shows racism, the system of inequities in power, resources, and opportunities that discriminates against people of African descent continues to have a highly corrosive impact on Black lives. Take these few data points. Over 1.2 million people of African, Caribbean, and Black descent call Canada home. Yet, Black Canadians are nearly twice as likely to be unemployed than non-minority Canadians, twice. Half of Black employees in Canada report facing discrimination when it comes to promotions. University-educated Black Canadians still earn an average of 80 cents for every dollar earned by their white peers. As a consequence, the average Black worker earned $12,400 less annually compared to other Canadians with the same qualifications. Wage discrimination and occupational segregation thus cost Black communities a staggering $1.5 billion every year. So bias is a major impediment also to Black attempting to access business opportunities. A study found that loans with the picture of a Black person in the profile were 25% to 35% less likely to receive funding than their white counterpart. And this, despite Black applicants being charged higher interest rates. Black entrepreneurs apply for loans less often. No wonder they expect to be denied. As a result, Black-owned businesses start with 3 times less overall capital than their white counterparts, with a huge number of Black entrepreneurs, over 70%, trying to build their company from scratch, bootstrapping their businesses with personal savings and mere luck. We can only conclude that the majority of programs that provide access to advice, capital, and funding, and a lot of them were created recently by various levels of government, need to improve their efforts to connect with the needs of Black communities. Now, what about Black women entrepreneurs? While there is sparse data concerning Black entrepreneurs, far fewer data points have been uncovered on the experience of Black women in business. But this we know. The intersection of being Black and being a woman only adds to the cost. Working age Black women are less likely to be employed compared to other women, compared to Black men and other men in Canada. When comparing annual income across major cities in Canada, we find Black women have lower median annual income when compared, again, to other women, to Black men and other men in Canada, compared almost, everybody else, that is to say. So we don't come out of this unscathed. The repercussions are serious. They shape our living conditions, where we live, what we eat, and so on. In 2016, Black Canadians were almost 3 times more likely than white Canadians to report living in housing below standards. Black Canadians were 10 times more likely to live in crowded conditions compared to white Canadians. Black Canadians have reported moderate or severe household food insecurity 2.8 times more often than white Canadians, with Black teenagers 3 times more likely than white Canadian youth to report moderate or severe household food insecurity. So we must ask, can we even measure the lifelong impact this has? The prevalence of diabetes among Black Canadian adults is over twice the rate found among white Canadians. From this picture, a simple truth comes to mind. Exclusion costs lives. A society that fails to include not only shirks its responsibilities, it fails to care for its people, and it deprives itself of vital contributions. Car vous savez, n'est-ce pas, ce que produit l'exclusion? L'exclusion produit un immense déficit d'idées, de perspectives, d'énergie, de participation, de synergie constructive, de possibilités, et ce, au détriment de la société tout entière. Exclusion creates an enormous deficit of ideas, of constructive energies, synergies, and possibilities to innovate. It creates a deficit of growth and a deficit of development. Clearly, let's say it, exclusion is a form of violence. Many of us have experienced that violence and continue to live it. Conversely, each step away from that violence, each victory against exclusion has a ripple effect and feeds other efforts towards greater equality, respect, democracy, justice, and prosperity. It's a virtuous circle of liberated potential. With a sober look on the means versus the means, today's announcement can, of course, only be the beginning. We are still a long way away from meeting the needs for decent and affordable housing and access to property among Black communities, historically so acutely deprived. Much more efforts will be required. So this call to join forces around housing and access to property must mobilize all our capacities, unify all sectors, public and private. It is a shared responsibility. So this is a call we must and will take up again together at the summit in Halifax, the National Black Canadian Summit, le sommet pan-canadien des communautés noires, where we expect to see many of you. Together we are stronger. And let us recognize the landmarks while we gauge the distance remaining. Let us celebrate our small victories, but keep our eyes on the prize. This has to matter to all, because it does matter to all. In which, thank you. Je vous remercie. Merci en pile.
Merci beaucoup, Madame Jean, pour votre travail incroyable pour faire avancer les droits humains. I am in awe of you from the moment I met you to the moment we are in today. Thank you for your contributions and for being a pillar in this community. I feel like today is like, there's just an exciting day. There's so many amazing people who have spoken. And I know we're running out of time. And so I'm going to tell you to stay on and stay with us. There's incredible speakers coming up and launches of some of our programs. And so I will, not delay that. And I'll introduce our next guest speaker, which is Peter Flagel. Peter is the Executive Director of the Government of Canada's Federal Anti-Racism Strategy and Secretariat, a cornerstone of Canada's anti-racism strategy. With his diverse team, Peter is driving a whole of government system change in the federal government from an anti-racism perspective. Peter has a distinguished career as a social entrepreneur, fundraiser, columnist, community organizer, and a musician with extensive Canadian and international experience working in multilingual and multicultural settings. He has a history of leadership in government, NGO, philanthropic sectors in the areas of anti-racism, equity, human rights, innovation, culture, international affairs, and entrepreneurship. Peter Flagel, welcome.
Thank you very much, Dahabo. Good afternoon, distingués invités, distinguished guests. C'est vraiment, pour moi, je suis vraiment ravi d'être avec vous cet après-midi et tellement impressionné par le travail qui a été mené jusqu'à date pour favoriser l'accès au logement pour les communautés noires à l'échelle du pays. Let me begin by congratulating the BlackNorth Initiative, its founder, Wes Hall, and its executive director, Dahabo Ahmed-Omer, and the team, Habitat for Humanity GTA, and the Dream Legacy Foundation for such a prestigious event. As we embark on the 7th anniversary or the 7th year of the International Decade for People of African Descent, it is truly an honor and a privilege to be invited to partake in such a historic moment as we mark together the launch of the BlackNorth Home Ownership Bridge Program. As was confirmed yesterday, the Government of Canada is investing a total of $10 million in federal funding to help 200 Black families in the Greater Toronto area purchase their first home. And it's surely not a coincidence that this announcement is being made in the heart of Black History Month 2022, whose theme, as the Senator Bernard mentions this year, is February and Forever, celebrating Black history today and every day, which is bringing national attention to the daily contributions that Black people make to Canada every single day of the year. And as our nation continues to struggle with the persistence and ubiquity of systemic anti-Black racism, but also, as we've seen, more direct and intentional signs and symbols of anti-Black racism, which we have been seeing of late in our streets, it is critical more than ever that Canada seizes upon the critical lessons of the past to ensure that they are not repeated in the present and in the future. Because we know that slavery has been a reality on Canadian soil. We know that racial segregation has been a legal fact in Canada. And we also know that the legacy of these past inequities are reflected in the Canada of today, whether we consider the disproportionately higher incarceration rates, unequal treatment by law enforcement, and of course, lower home ownership rates among people of African descent in Canada. L'histoire des Noirs, il faut le dire, est une histoire de victoire. Black history in Canada is really a story of triumph over adversity, as countless Black people have demonstrated strength, agility, and ingenuity in the face of these barriers to excel in fields as varied as health, science, academia, business, activism, and the arts. And we must and will continue to celebrate these accomplishments throughout the entire year. Yet, the persistence of systemic anti-Black racism also calls upon all of us to use the levers at our disposal to do our part in putting an end to this insidious social ill. 2 years ago, as the nation sought to come to terms with the brutal murder of George Floyd through the global Black Lives Matter movement, the Government of Canada's Federal Anti-Racism Secretariat had the privilege of partnering with the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation, CMHC, to host a town hall with hundreds of Black community leaders and other leaders and federal government officials to identify policy solutions the Federal Secretariat could work with federal organizations to potentially implement in the area of housing. Together, we explored the state of housing in Black communities from an intersectional perspective, as well as with Indigenous peoples and racialized minorities. And participants identified critical measures that could be taken to remove systemic barriers and increase opportunities for aspiring Black homeowners from coast to coast to coast. Participants called for the Government of Canada to create policies and programs that could effectively address the racial inequalities and wealth gaps that subsist in the housing sector, which are exacerbated by intersecting considerations like misogyny, homo and transphobia, ableism, classism, anti-Semitism, and Islamophobia. This to foster the transfer and building of intergenerational wealth, building a sustainable infrastructure for future generations. So the Federal Anti-Racism Secretariat shared all these recommendations with CMHC and our colleagues in other key departments which address housing, and we are using them to develop the renewed Federal Anti-Racism Strategy. And it was just 2 months later that, after our town hall, that the federal government announced a new $40 million investment to support home opportunities for Black communities across Canada. A clear win for Black communities as the new program added to what is now over $500 million investments to support Black communities from a holistic, multifaceted perspective, whether it is in the areas of entrepreneurship, housing, justice reform, capacity building, employment, or mental health supports. And we are delighted to see that the announcement is already bearing its fruits as the BlackNorth Initiative, working hand in hand with the Dream Legacy Foundation and the Habitat for Humanity Canada, have now committed to building some of these new opportunities for Black individuals and families across the Greater Toronto Area. The spirit of partnership and innovation reflected by this unprecedented collaboration speaks to the great power there is when we come together across sectors, but with a common vision to uplift Black communities by amplifying and multiplying opportunities to break down the barriers that have held back far too many for far too long. The BlackNorth Initiative, you are an inspiration, and we look forward to continue working with you in our shared commitment to building a Canada free of systemic anti-Black racism by driving federal policy, legislation, services, and programs that work for you. As many has said, this is a beginning, and we anticipate more action in this area. Wes DeHabo and team, Dream Legacy Foundation, Habitat for Humanity, and all the speakers, congratulations, félicitations, or as some of us like to say, big up. Merci à tout le monde.
Thank you so much, Peter. Look, you are playing an incredibly vital role in the elimination of anti-Black systemic racism from our society and leading the Anti-Racism Secretariat. And so thank you for your work and the work of your team. Look, as we continue on, you have heard from Wes earlier that we have incredible committees across the board at BlackNorth that have been doing incredible work on the ground with communities and coming up with some incredibly innovative and transformative ideas, whether it's in youth, education, health, economic empowerment, mentorship. And so as we go through this, I think one of the most critical pieces to the work that we do is execution. We have incredible ideas. Last year, year one was spent on awareness, embedding in our consciousness, in all of our consciousness, what anti-Black racism looks like, how it presents itself, how insidious it can be. And for us at BlackNorth, year two is about execution. And so you will hear about some of the most amazing programs that we are launching today. You can visit our website at blacknorth.ca under the programs tab to view those, all the programs that will be presented. And you'll see that, as we've developed these, we said to ourselves that we wanted to design them in such a way that would remove barriers, empower and uplift Black Canadians. And so the BlackNorth Connect program is, one of those programs which is going to be a household that's going to we have all these internship programs and mentorship programs and scholarships, and they're everywhere. And for us, we wanted to make sure that we created a platform that was going to house all of these opportunities that were focused and targeted on Black communities specifically. And so this platform is now launched. It will bridge the access gap between the unrepresented communities and all these corporations and opportunities within the government and every other sector. You'll also see that we have launched the Ryerson University Scholarship. We've also launched the West Hall Black Journalism Scholarship. We've partnered with Queen's Law. All of these scholarships are now available on our website for you to have access to them. Please visit our website, apply, get more information, share the knowledge, share the opportunities. It's important that we do that. And so our next set of guest speakers will present and highlight some of the initiatives that they're taking part in and the benefits and contributions that it will have on our community on a personal level, but also on a professional level. The first program is highlighted this afternoon will be the BlackNorth Academy, which is a bespoke one-year C-suite and board preparedness program. It's taught by two Rotman School of Management professors, David Beatty and Kendima Prince, and I'd like to thank them for their contributions in the last year. And I will give the floor to Rosemary Davis, who is a student of the BlackNorth Academy. She's also a manager of compliance at Canada Life Insurance Company. Prior to that, she was working as a lawyer over a decade in the US and Canadian legal, investigative, regulatory, risk leadership experience in all of these areas, civil, commercial, employment litigation. And so Rosemary, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I'm so grateful for this opportunity to share in this really important celebration and to be among such esteemed guests and to speak about the BlackNorth Academy program. I'm truly honored to be here. Thank you to the BlackNorth Initiative for its leadership in all the efforts to eradicate anti-Black racism and to build Black generational wealth. I will say, I was fortunate to hear about the BlackNorth Academy Bespoke program from a Black female lawyers networking group that I'm a part of. And in this group, we share ideas, opportunities, advice, and referrals. I was really excited to be a part of the inaugural group of this program. It was described to us as a program focused on strategy and governance essentials. I didn't hesitate to jump at this opportunity. I didn't know what to expect, but now, having been in the course for about a year, I have to say this was one of my best decisions. It is truly centered around strategy and effective leadership, and it provides guidance to those looking to enter the C-suite and boardroom spaces like myself. And no doubt, these are spaces that we historically and currently are kept out of. As one of 10 exceptional colleagues, I really look forward to the training, the sessions, and the incredible insights led by two phenomenal leaders. You heard about them before, David Beatty and Kelly Murametz, Director and Executive Director, respectively, of the David and Sharon Johnson Center for Corporate Governance Innovation at the Rotman School of Management, University of Toronto. I have to say that truly I've been impacted hugely on a very personal level by this program. My favorite part of the BlackNorth Academy program is what I call the sharing circle. And what that is, it's the times when we get to truly be vulnerable, to show up as our true selves, which is not something that we are normally able to do in the corporate setting, and to share about our lived experiences, including the ways in which the various sessions and the speakers themselves have positively affected us. There's really a lot of opportunity for reflection. And I have to say that that's what's been extremely impactful. Because, so often we receive information and we just store it away. But the times when we can process what we have learned, when we can truly digest it and reflect on it, especially in the ways in which it applies to the way we live our lives and the way we navigate interactions, I really believe that's when the magic happens. And that's when epiphany occurs. And I feel really blessed to be having this learning experience. So, the lessons, like the valuable insights I've gained from this, have been truly powerful. There are words that I use. I say it's authentic, it is powerful, and it's inspiring. That's how I describe the program. The sessions on governance and on leadership, I'm sure my colleagues would agree, we've learned the how and the why it's important to be effective board members in that space. But I think most important is how to lead with integrity, with empathy, and with authenticity. We've had amazing sessions with extremely senior executives. They've attended our classes. They've shared their journeys, their personal learnings, along with best practices in terms of leadership. And that's all information that we will take with us as we think about navigating the various spaces we want to enter in the boardroom or C-suite. And I do believe that it's going to position us well for whatever our next journey turns out to be in those spaces. But I'll say importantly, for me, on a personal level, the experience has helped me to realize that playing small is a disservice to myself and to the world. It has empowered and it has truly inspired me to expand myself beyond my comfort zone. And, because of that, for 2022, I chose love and courage as my two words to guide my actions and my interactions and the way I view the world. And that's a result of one of the speakers that we had through the program. And, my weekends are valuable. But I really look forward to the times when we have the courses, when I get to spend time with my colleagues to learn, to share, to truly be vulnerable, and really to leave enriched. I heard one of the speakers talk about how what we're experiencing today has fed her soul. Well, the program it feeds my soul on the weekends when I show up, and I show up all the time. And it really it's been more than I really expected or even anticipated at the outset. It's been rich, it's been rewarding, and I recommend it to anyone who wants to really learn to become authentic and impactful as a leader. And here we are, we're really celebrating Black History Month. And when I reflect on what that means to me, Black History Month it's critically important, right? It is the time that we've intentionally set aside to celebrate and to showcase Black accomplishments, to share about our history and the ongoing challenges that we face. But what's significant? It is really significant that there isn't a similar celebration called White History Month, because it isn't necessary. You don't need to have a White History Month celebration when we're operating in a system that is created to benefit the majority class. And so it's against this backdrop, this reality, that Black History Month gains tremendous importance. So to me, it's vital and necessary that we showcase Black talent and accomplishments. And at the same time, we increase awareness and we share about our history, where we've come from, and the challenges that we continue to face. And, I'm really looking forward to a time when we don't have to intentionally carve out time to celebrate Black people and our history, because it's just going to become business as usual. Interestingly, Senator Bernard talked about everydayness, and she was speaking about that in the context of Black racism. But in the context I'm using it, I'm really looking at it as the context of the everydayness of Black history, where we are celebrating Black history today, and we're going to celebrate it every day. And I'm really thankful for this opportunity. Thank you.
Rosemary, thank you so much for those remarks. I am so excited that you're having an incredible time in the course, because I know it is on Saturdays, and I know it's early on Saturdays on top of that. And I know that you all show up every single Saturday to gain the experience, the knowledge, and be able to apply and support yourselves and support your families. And so I do want to give a warm shout out to David Beatty and Kelly Mumford, who reached out to Wes a while ago and said, look, we want to do this. We have all this knowledge and all these expertise that we've accumulated over our lifetime. And it's important for us to share and to become, true and active allies. And so David, Kelly, we love and appreciate all the work that you continue to do with the BlackNorth. The next speaker is Marlon Reed, who is with CIBC. He is an incredible leader with the Personal and Business Banking Strategy Unit. He's serving as a community general manager on the front lines, working to build meaningful relationships with clients through exemplary service and advice. Marlon is a tireless and committed community leader and has served as president of the Canadian Association of Urban Financial Professionals, as well as chair of the organization's corporate advisory board. He's received appointments to the AGO Next Committee of the Art Gallery of Ontario, YMCA Leadership Council for Innovative Education, and the Financial Services Advisory Board to the Rotman School of Management. Marlon, welcome.
Thank you so much, Dabo. And good afternoon, everyone. I'm so proud to be here and to speak on behalf of CIBC. As Rosemary just shared, February is a time to celebrate the accomplishments and the many contributions of the Black community, both past and present. It's also a time to reflect on our progress and leverage the momentum we built to further create a more inclusive economy and society. At CIBC, we're creating a culture where everyone is able to achieve their ambitions. We've established measurable goals that make our leaders accountable for helping to remove barriers experienced by members of the Black community, Indigenous peoples, and other communities who continue to be underrepresented in financial services, and we're making great progress in these areas. We continue to deliver products and services that are tailored to the unique needs of our clients, including the recently launched Black Entrepreneur Program that supports business owners and entrepreneurs from the Black community with access to capital, education, and advice in order to grow and scale their businesses. And across our communities, we're focused on creating access to opportunities and removing barriers to ambition for the next generation of leaders and change makers from the Black community. In 2020, we became a partner of the BlackNorth Initiative with our president and CEO, Victor Dodik, serving as co-chair of the initiative, and we signed the CEO pledge, committing us to clear and demonstrable action. You can read about our progress in our 2021 sustainability report that'll be published in March. Fast forward to 2021, we knew there was still much to be done. And in thinking about how to accelerate our partnership, we kept coming back to the themes of today's event: empowerment, access to opportunities such as education, removing barriers to ambition, and building generational wealth. And we felt that we could achieve these outcomes by supporting the next generation of leaders and change makers. So in late 2021, we launched the CIBC and the BlackNorth Initiative Youth Accelerator, a multi-year program to remove barriers to education and help youth from the Black community achieve their ambitions. The program provides students with $50,000 over 4 years for tuition and includes access to mentorship, financial education, and opportunities for paid internships or co-ops with signatory companies of the BlackNorth Initiative. Students must be enrolled in grade 10 or grade 11 during this school year, and applications are now open until March 7th. The BGC Canada, formerly the Boys and Girls Club of Canada, is leading the outreach and selection of applicants, working closely with CIBC and the BlackNorth Initiative to engage up to 30 recipients in 2022. It is our intention that this program will help remove barriers for youth from the Black community in pursuing their education ambitions and will open doors for years to come. You know, I vividly recall how it felt not being able to afford most of the textbooks in university and trying to figure out how I was going to get the grades I needed to get into law school. I remembered living on spaghetti and butter and surviving what I know today was food insecurity. I especially remember the times I contemplated quitting because the journey seemed so untenable. But I always had a smile on my face to hide the pain, and few were aware of the extent to which I was suffering. Our ask of you today is to please help spread the word about this program, and you can visit the BlackNorth Initiative website for more information. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak at today's event. Also, a special thank you to Wes and to the BlackNorth Initiative for being such a tremendous partner to CIBC and for the momentous work they continue to do to remove barriers for Canadians from the Black community. So I'm passing it back to you, Dahabo. Thank you.
Thank you, Marlon. That is incredible. And thank you for your vulnerability in sharing your story and your path. And, you know, when we had our first meeting with the CIBC team, we had made a decision that we were going to put on a wall all the barriers to access to education. And we also said to ourselves that by the time we walk out of this room, we had better built a program that was going to address all of those barriers. And I truly believe that that's what we have done. And so thank you, Marlon. And like he said, you can visit our website to get more information on the program and how you can apply. And so up next, we have the WorkLive opportunity in collaboration with Daniels Corporation to provide a studio housing space for Black artists and groups to create, produce, and exhibit their art, and also engage in giving back to their communities by mentoring the next generation. And so our next speaker is Benny Bing, who is part of this program. And, you know, he is a contemporary Canadian artist and he explores themes of identity, gender, Blackness. He's born in Nigeria. He was born in Nigeria. Bing has always drawn influence from pride and the beauty of his cultural upbringing. His art places great emphasis on documenting Black experiences and exploring ideas of beauty, self-love, and at its core, humanity, all the while creating an open space encouraging dialogue on gender equality and identity. Bing has also worked alongside brands such as Roots, IKEA, the Daniels Corporation, Giants of Africa. His art can be found across the world in galleries and private collections. Benny, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dahabo. Greetings to everyone. Hi, it's a pleasure and an honor to be here today. I would like to begin my remarks today with the Black legacy acknowledgement. I acknowledge my ancestry, a deep and profoundly relevant history of Black peoples across the diaspora, a history, lineage, and inheritance that predates this country, chattel slavery, and colonialism, and begins with Africa. An ancestry that recognizes struggle and survival while honoring our narrative of pursuing self-determination. I stand valued and proud to be Black. As a Black artist living and working in Toronto, finding affordable places to create and live is extremely difficult. And in addition to that, Black artists face a lot of obstacles and barriers than our peers, especially when it comes to creating a thriving and successful practice within the creative community. The BlackNorth Initiative and the Daniels Corporation are proud to announce a unique opportunity for Black identifying artists and artist groups. BNI, in collaboration with Daniels, will be launching a request for proposals directed to Black identifying artists and artist groups for 3 workless studios in the Regent Park neighborhood of Toronto. The studios are located on an award-winning living lane. They will be within the Daniels Due East condominiums and the Artworks Tower communities. The workless studios, 2 one-bedroom studio units and 1 two-bedroom studio unit would be available at a special lease rate through the participation in Daniels Social Impact Exchange and will be operated by the Daniels Commercial Leasing. This program seeks to celebrate the existing arts community within Toronto and also provide a unique opportunity that will support Black artists, creatives to develop their practice, showcase their work, and most importantly, build relationships in the community while working and living here. Creative placemaking is a practice that we see more and more of in Toronto with the creation of cultural districts and spaces that encourage creativity and social cohesion. The Living Lane will provide a cultural space for social functions and engagement with the Regent Park community. I'm a big believer in the power of the arts to enrich our lives and build community. In my short occupancy in the workless studios, I've been able to not only create opportunities to engage, but also inspire the community. I moved in here in May of last year, 2021. And during the summertime, when I opened up the studio, I was able to interact with the community. And I want to share with you a very interesting story, which has been very impactful in not just my life as an artist, but in my journey within the community in Regent Park in sharing arts and adding more vibrancy and creativity to the neighborhood. There were 3 teenage boys, probably around 11 to about 13, who were walking by the studio. And I was painting, playing some music, and they stopped by to ask a few questions. And one of them, you could just see they were in awe. They were surprised. They were taken aback by the work. And the first question I was asked is, "Yo, you paint all of these?" And I said, "Yeah, I did." And one of them says, "So you do this for a living?" I said, "Yes, I do." And it dawned on me at that moment that these young Black boys hadn't seen anybody that looked like them do something like this professionally and be successful at it. And, I encourage you, we had a continuous conversation. I encouraged them to come in and have a look at the work and ask any questions that they had. And I said, I asked them questions. Are you a creative? Do you draw? Do you paint? And, they do explore and their creativity. And some of them actually, one of them loves to draw. So I told them, whenever you have a free time, let your parents know you can come by and, sketch something in the studio. And they walked away. But at that moment, I realized the impact that little meeting had upon those little boys. And these are the ages where they get very much influenced by, unfortunately, gang culture and they tend to go astray. And I hope that with that conversation that we have and that experience that we have, that can impact and really change the trajectory of their lives and really put them on a path to seeing that the world is bigger than what they've seen. And there are more opportunities that we can have with the community with these spaces. The spaces are going to be available as soon as spring of 2022. The launch for the request for the proposal process will be announced in the spring of 2022. I also do want to mention there are a lot of benefits, not just in regards to the social cohesion in the neighborhood, influence in arts, embedding arts and creativity within the community, but there are a lot of benefits to Black artists. Like I mentioned, these are workless spaces. They're below market rate. They're located downtown, very convenient. It's a very diverse neighborhood, and there's a lot of opportunity to engage with the community. The impact of the community engagement, not only on the quality of life in the community and social cohesion, but the animation of public spaces, participation, and local economic development cannot be overstated. I am excited to be part of such a great program, and I look forward to seeing the greatness that we achieve with this amazing collaboration. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Benny. I love the art right behind you there, the scriptures of Black women. It's beautiful. Thank you for coming on board and sharing your personal experiences with this Work-Live program. And we are excited to be partnering with Daniels Corp on this. And yes, please go on our website. Again, I keep saying this for a reason. All the information is on our website. Apply and imagine living in a space where you can grow and sleep and eat and create and be innovative. And so that's what this program is about. It's eliminating the barriers that exist for Black artists, especially in times of COVID. And so again, Benny, thank you so much for coming on today. Our very last speaker, and they are not the least, it is with respect to our Rise Up program, Kids Help, and we mentioned this earlier, but it is the first national 24/7 bilingual mental services for Black youth specifically. Here to present the importance of this program is our speaker, Tamar Barnigan. Tamar is a mental health professional, educator, community advocate, and leader. As Kids Help Phone Manager of Black Youth Initiative, a program supported by the Slave Foundation, they have find energy in developing resources and spaces that feel powerful and safe, especially for members of the Afro diaspora, 2S LGBTQ+ community, young people from across Canada. Their work in teaching and crisis intervention centers, anti-oppression, decolonization, and inclusion, and they remain firmly committed to these values in their personal life as well. Tamar, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone, honored guest to this incredible and distinguished panel. I am so inspired and, dare I say, activated in just this short time together. So thank you, all of you. Happy Black History and happy Black Futures Month. So my name is Tamar Brannigan. I'm the Kids Help Phone Manager of Black Youth Initiatives, which is a program that's been generously supported by the Slate Family Foundation and has been part of the collaboration with BlackNorth initiatives at Rise Youth Committee. So since 2021, it has been my honor and my privilege to be a part of the Rise Up powered by Kids Help Phone program and to help launch that across Canada. So just to take us back to 2020, we all know too well that COVID-19 has had a devastating impact on Black community. And in the May of 2020, the murder of George Floyd, we knew that African, Caribbean, and Black youth across the country deserved and needed a place to voice their experiences and receive support and feel celebrated and safe. And at Kids Help Phone, we needed to take a concerted and intentional action. So Rise Up is how Kids Help Phone quite literally rises to the occasion to be a champion for Black youth and for their community wellness, mental health, and joy from coast to coast to coast. Systemic anti-Black racism is a major barrier to support for youth and all people of the Afro diaspora when they reach out for mental health and wellness support. And so this is a program that is led and informed by Black communities, by Black youth, and it focuses on, first off, supporting Black youth through our texting services and counseling. So I want to let folks know Black youth and communities can text the keyword RISE to 686868 for free 24/7 support from a trained volunteer crisis responder, or they can use the keyword surmonter for support in French. We also really aim to engage with diverse Black communities by connecting with young people of the Afro-diaspora, their communities, and Black serving organizations. I am so proud to share that we have a Black Advisory Council, which includes the fierce and brilliant Dahabo Ahmed Omer, amongst 11 other established leaders of many ages, many backgrounds from all across the country. And finally, we work to empower with information. Kids Help Phone is the largest frontline service for young people, and we hold the most significant data set on child and youth mental health. We gather information from our texting conversations, live chat, counseling services from folks who access our online gateway, and we're able to use that information to inform the ways that we provide services that are responsive to the needs of young people. So just to share a little bit about some of that data that we have, in 2021, we saw a 42% increase in the number of Black youth who are reaching out. And they spoke to us about issues like suicide, anxiety and depression, and stress. And we saw increases of almost 50% in how those things were experienced. But we also saw youth feeling like these conversations were helpful. 81% of these young people who reached out shared something that they have never shared with anyone else before their conversations with our crisis responders or our counselors. And 89% felt that these interactions with Kids Help Phone were helpful, that they made a difference. So I encourage all of you to visit kidshelpphone.ca/rise for more information, and really just a huge amount of thanks and appreciation to all of you for centering Black communities and acting in such powerful solidarity and support to see Black folks thriving. Thank you. Happy Black History Month, everyone.
Thank you so much, Tamar, and for all the incredible work that you are doing, and everyone at Kids Help Phone. I think, you know, I've been in your meetings, I've seen the way that you conduct yourself and the way that you always center the Black voice, and, you know, being part of the first meeting for our Black Advisory Council was exciting. We were singing, we were dancing, we were sharing information, we were talking about how do we keep our kids safe. And so you are part of that narrative. You are ensuring that our children feel seen and they're heard, they're acknowledged. And ultimately, tomorrow, you're saving lives. And so thank you. Look, guys, I want to tell you that it has been an absolute pleasure to be your host today. I am truly, truly blessed and honored to have been able to just introduce all these incredible speakers. I mean, I've been hearing so much about the contributions, but also the leadership. You know, when I look to all of you for example, and for leadership and for ideas and ways to do this work, I have enough. I have more than enough. And so thank you for being part of that fabric. Thank you for setting an example to me and to everyone else, and for being part of the BlackNorth Initiative and knowing that without you, we would not be here. And so to all of our wonderful speakers who have joined us today, your contributions, every single moment that you have been part of this world, you have made a difference. And I would not be here without you. And so I hope that you guys had a wonderful time today with us, that you've learned something, that you leave here motivated, and hopefully you're able to see that we do have hope collectively. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful, wonderful afternoon.
Dahabo, this was absolutely wonderful. Absolutely wonderful.
Thank you, Senator.
There was someone in the audience that wants to have a connect with you and asked me if I would do an email connect.
Yes.
Yes, so I'll do that.
Please, I would love to.
Okay, and your email address?
I will send it to you in the chat.
Look how we're starting.
Donovan is back now.
I grew up as a real good girl, always home, don't go nowhere. As soon as I was introduced to carnival, they say I lose all down on the ground, walking up the bottom and it dragging all over tongue, and they say I lose it. Was never a party at my school bazaar I used to go, but since I was introduced to Bacchanal, they say I lose. When I drop it hot and I wind it on top the speaker box and I grind it, and I don't want to stop and they call it. I lose and I lose it. I sweeter than juice it. This carnival always so damn loose. Get loose away, get loose away, get loose away. Loosen your waist till the windy waves. There's no place I'd rather be than in a fence having a time. For those who have eyes to see the option of unwinding loose. All the ones they come, walking up the bottom and it's dragging all over tongue, and they say I lose it.
A new day dawn, in fact, no time for stalling. Let's go, wake up everyone who's sleeping. Wake up if you're sleeping. Meet me on the road. Right here. New inspiration, no contemplation, deliberation. Let's go, wake up everyone who's sleeping. Wake up if you're sleeping. Meet me on the road. Meet me on the road. Here we go. Everybody show me something. All hands in the air. Show me. 2 hands in the air. All hands in the air. Everybody show me something. All hands in the air. We gon' make them jump. We gon' make them turn up. We gon' make them whine. We gon' make them free up. It's the best of Bacchanal. In this week, but I think this carnival, I want you to find your way. Everybody on stage, oh God, oh. If you're coming down from the mountain, oh God, oh. When the rhythm beats in town, see me jumping on the savannah grass, You could see it already got spread, oh Lord, oh. When the people tell you they cannot wait, oh God, oh. Feel the spirit jumping in town. We coming round the savannah grass, We all on the ground, yeah. We holding it down, yeah. We open the story. It's Savannah Juve morning. Everybody coming in.